Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wine and Winchesters. Sorry for the slightly belated start. I had to wrestle YouTube and Google into some semblance of submission to get this to work. So, look, you can see us. We're here. Yay! So I am Emmy, and I'm here with Kaylin and Laura. We are hoping that Summer will be able to join us shortly. Yeah, this has been the week of the tech glitches. If you were here for Mage Tech on Monday, you probably didn't see much of it because it kept booting me out. So hopefully everything will work today and there won't be any apocalyptic sort of technology glitches. So, yeah, we are here to discuss episode 17, season 9, episode 17, sure, of Supernatural, Mother's Little Helper, which is Misha Collins' directorial debut, which is very exciting. So, yeah, let's dive in. What do you guys think?
I liked it overall. I did have like one a problem with this one of the little arcs with Abaddon's or with Josie's character, but other than that, it was a great episode. Misha has a talent.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I really enjoyed it, and I thought what we got to see of Dean's, well, the actor's Jensen, but Dean's sort more decline into the abyss that's going to drive him to do whatever the hell it is he's going to do that's going to activate the mark completely and take over his brain or whatever it's doing, but it's definitely taking him over. So I thought that whole arc was very interesting.
Yeah, last week, or 2 weeks ago, there's been so many like little mini hiatuses that I've lost track of everything. But when we were talking about it before, about how we've never seen Dark Dean, like we've never really seen him go evil or go really super, super dark, and seeing him spiral is really kind of juicy to me.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to happen. Like, I'm honestly surprised alcohol hasn't made an appearance before now. But it kind of works well with what he's going through now for him to finally, like, pull out the bottle out of the bag, and we're like, here it goes. Like, something's going on.
Oh, yeah.
I think in some ways he's using the alcohol to sort of dull himself to the drive to go get that blade back in his hand, you know? Mm-hmm. He's trying to suppress that still. He's still trying to hold on to his humanity. There were a lot of shots with hands where it's like, he's grasping for something, you know, but he's not getting it, and instead he's going for the alcohol to try and, you know, do what he can to drive that feeling away, you know, so.
Yeah, and also I noticed, I mean, you're talking about hands, there were some really interesting close-ups of his hands, specifically shaking and showing little signs of weakness.
Yeah.
That, like, he's been crumbling all season with the secret of Gadriel, and then now, like, with the Mark of Cain, and he's really, really, really I think he just needs help really bad, and we all know Dean won't ask for it. So, like, I think that this is going to be a really fascinating last bit of the season to see how he handles falling apart. Like, at the
yeah, and especially because Sam's not really there now, whereas before, like, I think this is why we're actually seeing Dean go down that dark path for the first time, because before he, like, started to get that way, Sam was always there to kind of pick him up, because Sam's that kind of person, but now he's just fed up, and they're in this, like, huge fight that I'm actually really glad that it's being, like, spread out over the season and not, like, immediately, you know, dusted under the rug, because, I mean, it's a huge lie that he, you know, that he tried to pull off that backfired, and Sam's just not there to pick him back up. But I think now that they both have this, like, almost same driving force to go towards Abaddon, because now Sam sees all of this, you know, she's collecting souls, and he has a very personal attachment to that, being soulless himself. So I think having them both on the same path now, I think I'm so excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too, and I love that you brought up Sam and his own personal arc, and that scene for me of him, like, handling the souls was this totally spiritual moment for him. I think, like, in the sense
that was my favorite scene in the whole episode, was watching the souls be returned to their owners, because it's like, for Sam, who had experienced what they went through and survived it, luckily, I think he's starting to realize just how lucky he was to have survived all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, I really hope it reinforces some idea of strength in himself, because the fact that he went on for months without a soul, it was legitimately
and
about 7 months, wasn't it?
It was a very, very long time, yeah.
It was a year.
So, he wasn't standing there banging his head against the wall like all these people were, so.
Yeah,
that was insane.
In a very real and literal way.
Like, when he picked up the jar, I honestly thought that he was going to smash it on the ground. And, like, I wanted that to happen so he could get that, like, aggression out. But, like, I kind of love that he just opened it up. And, like, he was the one that released the souls back into the people. Like, it had that moment to it.
Yeah, it had a delicacy to it, for sure, rather than just smashing it as well.
Yeah, and from what I'm seeing, like, from Crowley, it seems like he's trying to do the same thing with Dean that he did with Cass in Season 6, like, manipulating him into doing the great bad thing that Crowley thinks is best for him, like getting all the purgatory souls, because, I mean, I'm sure his intention was to claim all those souls for himself, but he needed Cass to do the hard work. Now he needs Dean to do the same sort of thing, and he's gradually just manipulating the entire situation to where he wants it to be. And I think Crowley is looking like a darker and darker figure. He's getting back to those roots, which is what I'm really happy about. And it does have a different feel to it, because I think when he was manipulating Cass was completely oblivious at first to what Crowley was doing. He honestly, I think, thought that it was going to be like a partnership type deal, and it wasn't until towards the end he realized, well, I want them all for myself. So that was a different spin on it. But Dean completely knows what's happening, and he hates that Crowley has this hold on him.
Yeah.
Then is holding it over his head, and there's nothing he can do about it. So that's really cool to see.
I think also, because you brought up some more parallelism about the Cass and Crowley thing, like, there's also an interesting parallel to Sam and Ruby. Like, Dean was so intensely unforgiving of Sam consorting with Ruby, and now here he is, the king of hell. The king of hell. Like,
he might think... He's not drinking Crowley's blood, but,
Right. Yeah. I mean, but he relies on him like Sam did on Ruby. Like, he expects Crowley to answer when he calls. Like, he reaches out to Crowley before he reaches out to Sam. Like, instead of putting his pride aside to reconcile with his brother and try to understand what's happening there, he's reaching out to Crowley. Like, that is an unbelievable thing for Dean to do, and it's really cool to see, because it's so not in his character, and at the same time it is, because of the pride thing, but, like, it's just...
They're pulling it off, though, too, because at first I was a little nervous about the whole soft Crowley thing, because, I mean, I do love Meg. I absolutely loved her at the end, but in the beginning we all hated her because she was evil, and then as she progressed and became, not completely good, but she came, more light side, we learned to love her, and I was like, I really don't want that to happen with Crowley, because I feel like, it's already been done, and we're not supposed to like Crowley because he's nice. Yeah, we're supposed to love how much we hate him, or hate how much we love him, and just with that whole, I completely lost my train of thought now. I'm thinking about Crowley. With the parallel with Sam and Ruby is that when Sam was like, you're going to use the blade on Crowley, right? Dean hesitated for a second. Like, he tried to play it off, but he totally hesitated.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dean still feels like he owes Crowley, because Crowley helped them get the blade in the first place, led them to it. I mean, took him to Cain and showed him that this is the weapon that can kill Abaddon in the first place. I think Dean still feels like he owes the guy something, and I think he thinks he might still need him for something.
Yeah.
Because he needed him to get the mark, he needed him to get the blade, he needed him to show him, maybe he needs him to help find him Abaddon for this battle or whatever they're going to have to kill her, but I think Dean is afraid to let go of that source that's basically been the only thing that's been giving him what he thinks he needs in order to take care of the problem. why would he get rid of the source of that before the problem is taken care of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think also with that, I mean, that just brings up a whole other layer of Dean, too, of him. He used to hit it and quit it with monsters. Like, if they helped him, he would not hesitate to turn around and just off with their heads really fast. And with Crowley now, he's really done a 180 on that. And the fact that you brought up his indebtedness to Crowley, like the fact that he's feeling beholden to someone who he never, ever, ever would have entertained the idea of just letting go before is a really interesting development on Dean's part. I love what they've done with Dean this season, and I really am just head over heels, like, respectful of the work that Jensen has done with this character, because he's really been tremendous this season. He's done a fantastic job, and seeing him play everything from just complete, like, mind-numbing grief with Kevin's death to this, like, downward spiral is really, really just rewarding to watch.
Especially because we don't usually, like you said, we don't usually see that with Dean, so it's definitely something different.
Yeah. I'm excited they got a 10th season.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I'm curious to see what's next, though.
Yeah, I am, too. And I think, like, with Crowley's character, you mentioned not wanting to see a soft Crowley, and I agree with that a lot. Like, everyone loves him because he's the guy that brings muffins to Dick Roman, and he's, you know, he's got the, like, here's my contract thing also with Dick Roman. He has such flair about everything he does, but that also, you know, it really does, it's like
it's a velvet
wrapper on a rotten, crumbly, manipulative person.
Yes.
And everything that he does has a purpose to it, and that purpose is not for you. It's for him.
Yeah, and also, though, like, with this whole, like, to sell the fight between Crowley and Abaddon, I feel like he needs to regain some of that evil presence again, because she is, like, hardcore badass, and he is crumbling a little bit, so I want to see him come back. Like, I felt that a little bit at the end of the episode last week when he actually took the blade, and he was like, psych, you know, I'm going to hold this, and you're my puppet now. And
well,
I'm excited to see that progress a little bit further before, like, the ultimate showdown happens between the two.
I'm starting to think that Crowley is just playing the long con, and this whole season has just been like an act where he's slowly been putting puzzle pieces together and putting everything where he wants the board to be for that final confrontation, because, you know, Abaddon has her thing where she just stands up and just rips whatever she wants out of the universe, rips souls out of people to turn them into demons. But Crowley is doing the exact same thing, but he's just got a subtler, you know, I'm just going to slide in under your radar and stab you in the back kind of vibe to him. I don't think it's any less evil or any less dangerous, but I think it's more dangerous because you're not going to see it when it comes.
Right. I would not put that past him. That's right. I didn't even think about that until now.
Yeah, there's so much with Crowley, I think, that I think we've been lulled into sort of a false sense of security with him in a lot of ways. And he, I've always thought it would be very interesting were he to be the, I mean, I have a feeling that season 10 isn't going to be the last season. I think they will probably go on at least one more after that. And just a hunch, because I mean, there's still a huge cash cow for the CW.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine them just being like, oh, that's a wrap, just because number, you know? I think that I would, if I were someone of an executive producer capacity, I would probably be looking at Crowley as the big bad of season 10. Like, I would probably be, I mean, Abaddon is definitely the big bad of season 9. And I think that using all of these successive seasons in a row to set Crowley up as an incredibly formidable opponent, and really kind of sloughing off the kind of cookie exterior of him into someone who is intensely dangerous for everything we like him for, but also everything that makes him evil. I would be definitely considering him as the ultimate big bad of season 10, and then reinventing the show in later seasons as it went on from there. And it would be difficult to do, but I think that it would also be really rewarding. I mean, just like season 5 was sort of a natural conclusion to 5 seasons of a specific arc, so I think they could do that with season 10 as well.
Yeah, especially because one of those seasons there was kind of like a gray area where it was just kind of like all over the place and no one really knew what was going on, and like the idea of the show ending was very real. But then all of a sudden they came back with that next season. It was like the show's good again, and then the tablets came into play, and you're like, holy crap! Like this is getting really good.
There's a big game happening here, yeah.
Yeah, like I recently just started rewatching the series from the beginning, and I truly forgot how scary the first season is. Like it's really, really good episodes, and this episode I was talking last week about how I kind of missed that whole hunting thing and like the Monster of the Week episodes with little, tie-ins with each episode for the greater arc, and this kind of gave me that feeling back again. I kind of got that creepy vibe with just a lot more depth of the characters, though. So I think they're heading in the right direction to have many, many more seasons. I would love that.
It was nice to see how Abaddon got into Josie Sands, too.
I have very strong opinions about that. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, I liked it, but then I really thought about it, and I was reading a couple articles about it, and with the show's history of dealing with female characters, I was expecting something different other than, love to force her to say, okay, possess me.
I don't know if it was really love, though. I don't know if it was about love. Like she said, oh, yeah, he loves you like a sister. I think that's how she felt about him, too. She knew he had this family, which was something she'd never had. And she, even though she didn't know exactly what it felt like to give that up, she knew what it felt like to grow up without it. And she didn't want that for his son, for John.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, I'll have to rewatch it, but I know that my first instinct was she was in love with him, and they used that as a catalyst for her accepting the possession, which in turn ultimately leads a woman to take down the Men of Letters long time ago. So on one end, it's like, Charlie was dubbed the like official first woman of letters, but really we see it was Josie way back in the day, and I don't know how I feel quite about that yet. I'm still trying to soak it in a little bit.
Yeah, I can kind of see both sides of that one, because I also had that same first impression that they were playing up the, oh, well, she loves him, so she'll obviously do this for him. But also, I did notice what you were saying, Laura, about like how I think it was an intellectual decision on her part, because watching her thought process was like she used everything she had in her arsenal to change Abaddon's mind. And Abaddon listened to her, which was also something interesting. And as long as she has been sort of Abaddon's vessel, I'm wondering, I mean, she's still in there. Like, I'm really wondering about this character, because there's a lot to be mined there, and I would really be disappointed if they didn't touch on her again.
Yeah, and especially, like, if in the final battle Abaddon does fall, like, will Josie fall with her, or will they completely exorcise Abaddon out? That's what I'm curious to see. Because then that could lead on for more stuff for Season 10 as well, dealing with, Josie, who was trapped inside of a demon's body since, the 1950s.
Yeah.
How does that affect her as a person?
Badly, probably.
Most likely, yeah.
Remember that she came directly from 1958 into 2013, so it's really only been in there about a year.
Hey, so that bodes even better for the idea of her resurfacing. I mean, if Sam could shoulder Lucifer to the side, maybe possibly have something else, have some other part to play. Let's put it that way. Like,
even still in there. I mean, everybody. I've heard the writers and producers say,
been decapitated a whole bunch, hasn't it?
Yeah, and kind of blown up and set on fire.
Well, yeah, she was dismembered, so I forgot about that. I'm putting boxes.
Yeah.
And then Sam set her on fire and sort of, burned her to death. So
that makes sense.
Been
I don't even know if Josie's still in there, if like an empty vessel at this point, like
right,
Jimmy.
kind of like Meg was in the beginning, or Meg's
Ruby.
body. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's also possible. Yeah, I'm wondering. I wouldn't mind seeing Josie again. I'd be happy to.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice for them to introduce a character like that. I mean, she's been here for a little while, but I actually really liked the episode from last week about going into I can't remember his name. The Men of Letters, like their Magnus, yes. When they went into his place, like I actually really enjoyed that. But then I read an article and it made me think, like, they do kind of have this history of introducing these really great characters with these, zoos of supernatural creatures, and then all of a sudden we kill him and we don't see him anymore.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to see her kind of progress a little bit more than just, a Magnus, who has been kind of dangled in front of us ever since pretty much the beginning of the Men of Letters arc. And then, we're meeting him for the first time, and now he's dead.
Bless.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Josie's really been dangled in front of us since the beginning of that arc, too, from that very first time we see Henry walk into the building and see her and know her. Like, that's an interesting thing, too.
It would be nice to save someone. We lost Henry, we lost Magnus, we lost all the other Men of Letters. It would be nice to actually save one, to get Abaddon
save the
out
woman of Letters, too. That would redeem the whole possession thing for me.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I mean, it would be nice to see something more than Sam and Dean in the bunker too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really there were a lot of interesting things that went on in that episode. And I also really liked, I'm looking up the actress's name at the moment, who played the ex-nun.
Oh, Julia. Yeah.
Yeah, her name is Janet something, and she looks so much like Shirley MacLaine to me that's what I keep thinking of, but that's totally not her.
Yeah.
Although, how amazing would that be?
I can get down to my husband. He knows her name. He was talking about her earlier today. Hang on.
I'm looking it up. Oh, and she's rest of cast.
Hey, Sam.
I think it's Janet something.
I know Misha tweeted, I think, about her.
Yeah, that might be easier to find, because Misha doesn't tweet a ton. But I liked her character a lot, and I
honestly, like, we're talking about the older version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like at the end when they're walking away and like the camera is focused on her face, and just she has this very stern look about her.
Did we freeze?
I honestly thought that her eyes were gonna go black for a second. Like I thought she was demon and that she was playing Sam for some reason, but then it didn't. So it went well.
Oh, you're back. Oh, thank God.
I know. Yeah. Her name is Jenny O'Hara.
Jenny O'Hara. Okay. Yeah, I really loved her character in the present day, because I appreciated also seeing an older woman on the show who had her own strength to her and were frozen again. Are we back?
I see you. We're not frozen on my end.
We're not frozen on my end. Your thing at the bottom keeps saying searching, so I don't know if it's you or us.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's going on. It might be me. We have Comcast, so basically everyone in this building shares internet. So, yeah. Sorry, Comcast. But yeah, I was saying that I really like seeing an older woman on the show without being in a maternal capacity. Like, I really liked that she was her own person who had made her own decisions, who came to her own conclusions about things. And when she saw something that she had a missed opportunity earlier in life due to fear, she saw an opportunity to right it and did. That was, I mean, how many of us wish that we could go back and fix something from our past? Like,
very much so, yes. Multiply. I have a list.
Yeah. So, So yeah, I really did like her character. Jenny O'Hara, you said her name was?
Yep.
Yeah. I definitely want to shout out Adam Glass's writing in this episode, because I really thought it was a well plotted and well scripted episode. There were a lot of nuances that I liked a lot, and just specifically with Dean and Sam, the way they were written. But the whole aspect of the soulless people, I really liked that idea a lot.
Yeah, and the idea that, I mean, from what I gather, like, that's been happening for a long time. So it's like, I wonder how many people they have now.
Yeah, that was a creepy moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, and Sam's face too, just like, oh hell no. That brings up something I really, really loved about the episode, is the last 5 minutes where Sam, or last like 2 minutes really, where Sam is back in the bunker and he tells what's going on, and the just sense of general unease and dissonance in that room was so palpable through the TV. Just, this is happening, this is really, really bad, this is awful, and how are we going to attack this?
Yeah, but you could see, like, even Sam pulling the light on his table where he was working. The table had been totally clear, and Dean's table's like all cluttered up with research and crap, and his light's been on forever and ever. Finally, it seems like they're on the same page. They're doing the same thing. Sam's about to open up his folders and start. He turns on that light, and everything's like back in balance in a way, because they're both like on the same problem again, at least, if not personally, at least on the job. They've both got the same mission again.
Exactly. And so that's really cool, because I never noticed things like that. So it's really cool to think that he's turning that light on and they're on the same page, but they're still both fighting. So like the separate tables kind of play into it too.
Yeah.
So they're on their own, but they're working together at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. On that note, too, there was something I noticed both of them do in this episode, and that was at the beginning you see Dean with just a book or a stack of things, and he just slams it down on the desk. And at the end, you see Sam do the exact same thing, and that kind of plays into exactly what you just said, that synchronicity of the two of them working together and creating a symmetry, both in the episode as a whole, like from beginning to end, but also in that moment of the two of them being there together and working a case, and Sam also kind of opening up to Dean a little right there, saying, like, you could see, I mean, his announcement wasn't just all business. There was genuine fear in his voice, and that was the other thing, is just seeing both these boys afraid. Like, you don't get to see them scared very often, and they are afraid.
Yeah, because Dean might think he's poison and doesn't want to work with his people he loves because he doesn't want them to get hurt. But, you know, he'd rather work alone or with Crowley, someone he doesn't care about. But now this is too much. This is too big. And an army of soulless people running around the planet is... He knows what one soulless guy can do, so, you know, that's pretty terrifying. Because the demons...
Sam right fear, too. Because, I mean, he's seen his own thing repeated and not able to really do anything about it right this second.
Yeah, and the guilt he felt for what he had done when he got his soul back, and he knows that if these people get their souls back, you know, they're all going to have to go through that same thing he did. And I just think that he is just too good of a person to ever wish that on anybody, so... You know, I think he really feels that artist. So.
Yeah.
Especially seeing the extreme way that they were taking the fact of not having a soul. So that kind of played into it a lot. Because with him, it wasn't that in your face. Like, it was a very subtle until we got into, like, the mid-season where, you know, we've seen that he let Dean turn into a vampire. And, like, he did stuff like that. But he wasn't, like you guys said, drawing on the walls with blood. So it was a lot more subtler, creepy approach with him, but with them it was like knock down, drag out. So it was really, really cathartic in a way to see him be able to release that and to help them for a change.
Yeah.
It made me wonder what's so special about Sam as a person, regardless of his soul, that he was able to hold it together and appear as normal as he did for so long. It's just that, to me, that's just like what I took away most from this episode is, wow, this is a person who, soul or no soul, this is just a good guy right here. Because I mean, even though he wasn't a creepy jerk without his soul, I mean,
but see, in the same sense, it's like I feel like he had to go through a lot of crap to get that hard exterior to be able to put up with that. At the same time, so it's like he's been through so much, but again, he could have easily just let go and then let that, you know, kind of take control of him, but he did subside it and push it down.
Yeah. I think it was interesting also within the episode to see that the people without souls all behaved very differently. Like, some of them were just sitting, staring in nothingness. Some were, you know, going full-on crazy, writing on the walls and hanging themselves, but some of them were twitchy and agitated. Others were calm and just eerily quiet. And I really liked that they showed that nuance and didn't make them a homogenous entity of soulless people. They showed that each person handles it differently. And I really, really enjoyed that, especially in retrospective of Season 6 with Sam, that there you have just these different depictions of how people will behave. And yeah, I think that Sam's nature had been so ingrained into him over the years that when his soul was taken away, his default setting was still hero, you know, like still fighting the good fight, still.
Yeah, it's like going up to a soldier who is trained for combat and doing something that just trips an instinct, and that's just how they're going to react. They're going to fight. They're going to defend. They're going to, you know, or going up to someone who's trained in martial arts and you know, grabbing their hand and pulling it around their back, they're going to react without thinking. You know, it's just. I think that's what Sam was just doing. He was in hunter mode, and he just couldn't get out of it. That's what his lifetime of training was since he was 6 months old. So. Yeah,
he was. I mean, it's beyond muscle memory for the Winchesters. It's who they are. It's coded into them. And in some cases, literally, I mean, they're legacies. They are the descendants of men of letters and hunters on either side of their family. Like, they were literally born for this.
Yes.
Yeah, I like how they use, like, they say that they're legacies with pride. Like, they finally have something to take pride in instead of just, you know, being hunters. Instead, you know, because, you know, when the demon went, not the demon, well, it was a demon, but when the hunter went to go in to kill Crowley, and Dean just kind of said, he goes, I'm Dean Winchester. Like, they know who you are. Like, just a name can give the impression. Although, like, the entire country believes that they're, like, serial killers and dead and then not dead. So
not dead, or maybe dead, or back dead, or undead.
But in the Hunter grapevine, you know, Dean Winchester is the name you would know.
Yeah, that is.
It was interesting, though, with the whole demon thing, was it was a trap set up by Crowley, and at the end, Crowley, he gave that, you know, performance that it went as well as he wanted it to, but at the same sense, it was like, I got the feeling that he was protecting Crowley, but I got more of a feeling that he was trying to protect the hunter from going in there and, you know, being torn to bits. So it kind of, like, contradicted a little bit.
Yeah, I think Crowley what Crowley thinks and what Dean did, I don't think are lining up completely. I think just like Sam, soulless Sam, retained that hunter's instinct and reacted that way, I think that Mark of Cain Dean is going to have the same reaction. He's never going to be able to lose all of that instinct. Even something like this.
Also, like, had this little hunter demon had, like, an actual demon-killing weapon, that would have been a different story, but he just had a silver knife. Like, you know, that, to me, was, I definitely read that as Dean trying to save a hunter from certain death. Like, you take a knife, it's like taking a knife to a bazooka fight.
It's like, it's just ridiculous. Yes, it's like trying to fight a hurricane with a knife. You can't do it.
I'm thinking of all sorts of great little metaphors, like taking, like, a rapier next to something like one guard, and the cannon's just like.
I'm going to take a knitting needle to a cannon fight. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna lose. So.
Yeah. Gonna lose.
But yeah, I almost wonder. Might be reading into this too much, but if Dean's been around demons for a long time, I would wonder if there's any possibility that he recognized that demon for what he was, and played it as if he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew what Riley would think, like, oh, he's protecting me. No, I'm not protecting you.
Mm-hmm. Like, well, I'm wondering how much insight or demon abilities the Mark of Cain has given him that they haven't let us know about.
Right.
Like, it's affecting him, obviously. It's affecting his drive to kill or his drive for violence or whatever they've tried to show us that it's doing to him. But, like, demons can see other demons, and, you know, it's like he getting any of those other abilities. Like, Cain knew they were in his house before they knew Cain was there. Like, did any of that convey with the Mark?
Right. Yeah. Like, I remember when Cass first met Meg, and, you know, he saw her demon face. So, yes. Like, he immediately knew. So, yeah, I wonder if it did have that, like, supernatural quality.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something to think about, especially because in the past, whenever a demon was involved with anything and they were investigating it, they always asked, you know, oh, did you smell sulfur? So that would be like a trigger too, like being that close, would they smell like sulfur?
Yeah. I would think that it would be definitely a pretty big plot hole if they hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
If it was just Dean protecting a random hunter boy, or so he thought, you know, that would be not quite as deep as that moment had potential for, which obviously we're digging into it a whole lot, so.
Yeah. But I feel like the fandom kind of does that anyway. So, I mean, when you have hardcore fans like this on a show, it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to have your work completely picked apart and interpret it in many different ways.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the show, is that a lot of the time, most of the time, they give us that. And there have been a couple episodes this season where we'd find ourselves at like 8:29 sort of like,
yeah.
I liked it. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that we're 41 minutes into this episode and still finding things to dig into is
yeah. So we're talking longer than the episode actually ran.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many different layers though, and that's where the writing comes in. Like we've known from, you know, the start that the acting is phenomenal, and the writing is kind of hit or miss with the season as the seasons go a little bit, but like it was so layered, and there were so many parallels that we were able to make and pick up on, and new things. Like after 9 seasons, you know, Dean's downfall, this is new. Like this is something fresh to get us to keep our interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they had to do something because the two brothers have just been like trying to live as one organism for so long that, you know, they have to finally have their own lives and feel free to have their own lives and do, you know, live as separate individual people instead of trying to throw themselves under buses to save the other one every other week. It's just, you know,
winning the gold medal for codependency every single week, you mean?
Yeah.
They've been kind of working on their codependency issues this year for sure. I mean, getting to see them actively make a choice not to depend on the other person is an interesting choice that they made this season, and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I've seen like a couple different like theories thrown around and stuff like that, like that because of Sam's stance on Dean saving his life when he was ready to die.
Right.
If the tables were turned and Dean, is almost dead at the end of the season, will Sam save him? I think he will, because he knows that Dean would want him to.
Yeah.
And that's that part of Sam that would be like, okay, you aren't ready to accept this part of life, which is death. So I'm going to save you, but that doesn't mean that you can do it for me. So.
Yeah. Well, I think Sam was more upset about how Dean saved him rather than that Dean saved him. I think if Ezekiel had come in and it had been Ezekiel, and laid his hand on Sam's forehead, and Sam was like magically healed, I think Sam would have been very grateful to have survived. But because Dean agreed and tricked him into shoving an angel down his throat,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's, giving up his...
isn't he still a little broken? Like, he's not completely healed because Gadriel kind of, it was Gadriel, right?
Yeah, Gadriel.
He came out of Sam before he was fully able to heal him, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
so,
but
he's functional and he's capable, but I don't think he's, 100%, there, once he was expelled. So it's at one point he's just tired, he's done. So... Well,
I thought Cass sort of finished up the healing job after in that one.
I think they were working on it. The last time we saw Cass is with Sam was when they were in the bunker and they were doing the whole needle thing, and they took all of the essence out.
Yeah,
I think they were talking about working on healing in sections, but they haven't really touched base on it again since then.
Well, what Cass did was it was either remove Gadriel's grace, or let the grace slowly evaporate as he healed him, because every time Cass would do a healing, it would evaporate some of that grace and destroy it within Sam. So Cass withdrew it all and left just enough to finish healing Sam. So he finished the healing. That's why he stopped. That's why they didn't have enough grace to do the tracking spell.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense too. But he did kind of have his outburst before that scene. So that probably played a lot into it, and he's just driving off of those initial emotions.
Yeah. And I think the issue of... there was something with the whole idea of Sam saving Dean in spite of himself, I guess. I feel like were they to come to a similar situation where Dean said he was ready to go and wanted to go...
Right.
I almost feel like Sam would save him not for Sam, but to prove to Dean that he would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If that makes rather than saying I'm going to save you even though you don't want to be saved because
I don't think he would want to be saved right now. But
yeah, I don't think he would either. But I think that Sam would be like, no, listen, brother, I would do this for you, even though I would have wanted to be let go.
But is it going to come down to
deeper down? He really wants to save him.
Yeah, but I don't think Dean really knows what it's like to have a supernatural being shoved down your throat and made to take over your body.
Nope.
And Sam knows that one big time all around from every angle. And Dean's never really been possessed by anything. So he's always been himself, whether he's, I think
Has Dean ever actually been possessed?
Yeah, briefly.
When?
I feel like there have been a couple of brief moments where he was possessed by Meg, maybe, or someone. There was one episode where she was just jumping around through Winchesters, and I'm pretty sure he'd been possessed briefly.
Yeah, I don't think Dean's ever been possessed by anything.
I'm trying to think, because I remember Meg...
a Leviathan that impersonated him. There was a demon in that dream episode where they were trapped inside the dreams with the African dream root, and he confronted himself as a demon. He's been impersonated by shapeshifters, but he's never been possessed. No. He doesn't know what that's like to lose control of his body to something else. So, but Sam's possessed by everything.
He makes them fight against each other.
Yeah, they were...
That was the worm.
Oh, right.
I'm looking it up now. It's saying he's never been truly possessed by a demon. The only time that they were close was he had a dream, right before he was actually sent to hell. He had a dream that he was demon, and that he was turning demon from being sent to hell. And there was a season 6 episode where it says where Eve created that con worm.
Yeah.
And it crawled into his ear.
Right. Yes, you're right. Okay, the con worm.
So so he's never really been possessed.
By a demon, yeah.
By a demon, yeah.
He was taken over by that witch in the Wizard of Oz episode. He lost his ability to control.
He was taken over by that witch.
Okay, and because this was a year ago, so this is slightly outdated.
And it's never been a demon. Like
Which I think is the worst of the possessions that you can pretty much get at this point.
Yeah.
Or an angel. Yeah.
Or an angel. Yeah, he's never been a vessel for anything.
Well, because that's right, because he was almost Michael, but not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dubious on their poor baby brother.
Yeah. Speaking of Adam,
Lucifer wore Sam for a while, so I mean it doesn't get worse than that. So Sam's familiar with it, and the idea of that Dean would let another angel take over his body after that, I think, was what appalled him the most. Like I said, if Cass had been there and had powers and just booped his forehead like he usually does and he was all healed and better, I don't think he would have had any problem with that, even if he had already been like, yes, I accept my death.
Right.
I think it was the way Dean saved him, and I don't know if Dean would be as... I think Dean would be just as upset if the same thing had happened to him.
Yeah, if
I agree.
He was coming from that same place of having been possessed multiple times by increasingly powerful beings.
Yes.
Also, I mean, it doesn't help that it wasn't Ezekiel. It was Gadriel. So like, it you know, not only did he invite another angel into his brother's body, but he invited a bad one.
He didn't even do a background check on the guy, you know. Well, I mean, he asked Cass, "Is Ezekiel okay?"
What's his name? Ezekiel, and none of them made sure to check that Ezekiel, was still alive.
Right.
So, I think it would have been not nearly as bad for Sam had it actually been a good angel or something like that. But Spouse is playing South Park. There's poop jokes. So. But anyway, I really think that they've done a great job this season of exploring how context is important, Dean. And so is empathy. If you can't, I think that maybe the Mark of Cain will lend him some insight into what he actually did to Sam this season.
Right, yeah, that losing control, the constant need of something that he can't have because Crowley has it.
Yeah, and something evil, too. I mean, Sam had the whole demon blood thing that he went through, and Dean hasn't had that addiction thing to something evil before. He's never experienced the same level of just slowly being poisoned.
See, that would be the perfect segue to start the healing process of their fight. I don't want it to be like, oh, Crowley won or Abaddon won, let's be brothers again. I want them to legitimately sit down and talk. As boring as that may sound, if it's written right, it would be done phenomenally. And that would be the perfect segue. Dean, can apologize for not fully understanding what Sam has been going through.
Yeah.
So he gets this glimpse into Sam's
Yeah, absolutely. And that
Sam's going to get a bigger shot of what Dean had to give up for his entire life in order to raise Sam in such an environment that he was able to feel like, he didn't have to worry about Dean at all. He had compared to Dean, he had a relatively carefree childhood, which is depressing and sad, but that would be considered relatively carefree, but it's true, and I don't know.
Yeah, definitely didn't have the same responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I think also Dean getting the perspective of questioning it, his own purity, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Just not sexual purity or anything like that. But
we all know that's very far from Dean.
am I fully human? Because Sam went through a large part of his life wondering if he was really human, what was wrong with him, and the show anyway, from season 1 of finding out that he had demon blood, and that he, was being groomed by this Lord of Hell, basically, to do his bidding, and now Dean is in that place of wondering where his impulses are, questioning Like, why do I want to do this? Is it because of the mark, or is it because of me?
Yeah, but even before he got the mark, you know, he went through that poison. You know, he came right out and said it, that he didn't want to be around Sam or Cass because everything he touched dies, and everything he comes near, you know, goes rotten. So he didn't, you know, hence why he ran to Crowley, because he doesn't give a damn about Crowley, you know.
Yeah, this might be a good way for him to get over himself, because now he actually does have something poisoning him, and something that is very toxic, and here he is he's going to have to be a better person with it than without it. And I don't know if he's going to do it. I think it's going to be a while before he gets to that place, because he has to go dark first. I'm intent on making that happen.
I'm really intent on that as well. Like, I want to see him like the lowest of the low, and you don't want to wish that on a character, but we've never seen that in him. So it's interesting to see how dark he will go, and then how Sam will take that.
Yeah. But until he gets all the way there, there's no way to bounce back. So. Yeah,
because we talked a couple weeks ago about the role reversal idea of Sam having to be the moral pillar of the two of them, and play the role that Dean did for so long, and actually, you know, be the rock of the two of them. That is
and him already knowing, like, having an idea of what Dean's going through will actually play a lot of his decisions on how to take it than Dean did. Going as, okay, there's something wrong with you, let me help, to where Sam is like, okay, I know what you're going through, let me help. Or, I know what you're going through, there's not much I can do, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Dean will be lucky in that he will be with someone who can empathize, not just get it. You know, someone who really does get it, and hopefully that'll help with their healing process as well. And then they can pass the talking stick, sit in a circle, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya. That would be hilarious. I just have a mental image in my head of Kumbaya, pie, crackly fire.
For me, yeah.
But well, that about wraps us up, I think, for tonight. So we can go ahead and close this out. We'll be back on there's like a 3-week break, isn't it?
Yeah, the next episode is the 15th of April.
Okay, yeah, so we'll be back on the 16th, and hopefully Summer will be able to join us. And yeah, thank you for watching, everyone.
Bye-bye.